And then he finally said, like, I do not want to lose you anymore. I've lost you to this whole journey of endometriosis. I've lost you to the journey of pregnancy and, testing. All I want is you. I don't care if we have kids. And I felt like crap. Awesome. Okay. So nervous system clinic. And today I just want to recap what we're going to be talking about is um, just given the time and things that are in my space as well, is we're transitioning into a new lunar new year, and it's about shedding the snake and about the fire, like the fire horse, and like forward momentum and going, progressing forward in life. And so when I think of shedding, I think about, the fact that you have to sometimes go through some conflict. Like the snake has to rub against trees, rocks, and stuff to shed its skin. It's, really has to grow through them, go through that hardship, sometimes trials and tribulations, learnings, and these can be positive and negative experiences. And integration means that we are taking all of those experiences that we had, positive and negative, because our life is full of highs and lows, right? From an external experiences perspective, highs and lows, and we integrate that into who we are so that we remain content, grounded, and, just feeling peace, right? Because we don't want to stay in the lulls, but we also don't want to stay in the highs, because then it creates a dependency on having those highs from like, oh, what makes you happy? But like happy could be a fleeting moment. But contentment, peace, inner peace, groundedness, those are feelings that we always want to have with us, no matter what is happening on the external. Yes, you can have hardship. Yes, you can have sadness. Yes, you can have joy. Yes, you can have excitement. And all of these are great feelings, and we want to feel alive. So we want to feel them. We want to feel happy. We want to feel joy. We want to feel sadness. We want to feel grief. We're meant to have these real 3D experiences, and we want to return soon enough. I mean, this will vary. The timelines vary. Based on us, based on the experience, based on, our supports, on getting back to feeling grounded, content, and feeling that inner peace. And sometimes there are more perpetual things in our lives. And that is where we spend most of our time here with the nervous system clinics, is those more perpetual, or even like chronic illness being another one, right? Or feeling like you're always a patient, or feeling like you're always, working really hard in your career and can't get a break, whether you're on a fertility journey. There's these more longer term challenges that we have, or experiences that we have. And we could question, how are we integrating this experience when it feels like the experiences hasn't wrapped up yet? Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Because it might feel easier to have had a negative or a positive, joyful or grief type of situation and be like, okay, there was loss, there was excitement, there was, like new life, new promotion, new home, something that maybe brought you a lot of joy, and you can come back and you can integrate it. And yes, I believe actually in integration of the positives as well, of bringing in gratitude and bringing in just the joy and spark, like whatever you felt there, and saying, this is available to me at all times as well. So that we're not always kind of like vacation chasing, looking for all these like really, really highs. I think it's important, just like the losses, and learning from them and having gratitude and stuff like that. Integration comes from both the highs and lows. But the challenge sometimes is something's like chronic. And it's like, let's say you have a long-term career that was really fulfilling, and then that career is no longer there. What happens? What if you had so that could be a positive one, but you could also have had like a negative one, let's say infertility, or chronic health with endometriosis is obviously, a big one here. And you don't see the end of it. And how do you integrate that? And so can we dive in? Are we all ready to dive in into what this could look like? I want to just drop a yes in the chat from everybody here. If you want to just say yes. A lot of you guys are messaging hosts and panelists like, yes, yes, yes. Let's find the chat box, because I want to know that you guys are here. Like, are you ready for this? And like I said at the beginning, let's take a deep breath and slow it down. Slow down our body. Slow down our body. Yeah, thank you for guys for changing it to everyone. A couple of you guys are changing it there. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. The breath brings in alkalinity to our bodies, right? It changes our brain waves, brings us into a more meditative state. It brings our nervous system into a softened state as well. But it also brings alkalinity into our bodies, into our blood, into our heart, right? When we breathe too fast, there's a bit of acidity that builds up, and those aren't, it's not helpful for our blood, to our organs, to our brain, like the waves, all that stuff. And just a deep breath to bring safety in. And I always say, take your two fingers, put on your fingers on your lips. And let's just take a minute and reflect on the seat that we're sitting in, maybe the ground you're standing on. Maybe you can just feel your surroundings. Maybe there's a table in front of you, and just feel it. Let's get really present into our physical self here. Okay? You can pat the body as we take that deep breath in. I find grounding is just as important as any of the integration work we're doing. And let me know, what are we focusing on? Each of us are going to be able to choose. Are we focusing on maybe a short-term, big, low integration that we're ready to shed, integrate? Or is it a long one? What are we focusing on? On the long one does a long one something that has had an ending and we're trying to integrate it? Or is there a long one where we just can't see if there's going to be an ending, but we are ready? We are ready to shed it. So maybe the integration is what we're looking for as an opportunity to shed it. And the body will do that. The body will bring up, those perpetual ones, those long-term ones that are coming up for you. The body is giving us reasons and, feelings to experience this and shed it and to integrate it. You might feel more triggered sometimes. You might feel more stressed sometimes. You might feel frozen sometimes. Anyone feel like they're ready to shed something that doesn't have a timeline of ending, but they notice that their nervous system or their body is giving clues where you're almost like, you feel like mentally you're done with it. Maybe it's disrupting your career, maybe it's disrupting your relationship, maybe it's disrupting something, but your nervous system is off from it. And so our nervous system shows us when we're ready to release that. We have bigger feelings sometimes around things as well. All right, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat for everybody. Take a minute. Let us know, is it short-term, long-term? Is it something that the experience has closed for you, or is the experience still ongoing for you? And is it short or long-term? Because I think that it's just a lot of clarity for me as I guide you through this. Right. Now, once you've finished typing, we're going to go into this. And if you have a pen or pencil, that'd be great. But if not, I think you guys can just use your intuition to guide you with this. And of course, the replay will be available so you guys can do it again. Okay. All right. So we're seeing ongoing longer term for many. We have one short term ended. Okay. One short term ended. One long term ended. Yeah. Okay. What else? Identity long term. Yeah. Who is ready to integrate some of this stuff? Yeah. Okay. And then the short-term positives. Okay. I love this. This is like, we're kind of like getting a lot of like common ones and then a few other ones. Okay, cool. Yeah. If you haven't added, feel free to add. I want you to just think of the thing that we've shared. Something we're ready to integrate. Because right now it stands out. If it's come to your attention, it stands out. Can we all say it? Can we all kind of like put our hand here and hold it as well? Like follow me. And we can see it here. Do you know that there was a study done where there was an ancient practice? And I think John Hopkins recently, maybe in the last decade or so, brought it back, brought this ancient practice that was kind of like dismissed or closed at one point, where if you had an experience, a traumatic experience, the practice was to collect rocks, physically collect rocks, and then speak of this practice while throwing the rock out into the river, and physically throwing things while you're saying things was actually up to an 83% in a resolution of the trauma or some impact. I will get the study for you and share it, but it was John Hopkins, and it was trauma and rocks throwing into a river, an ancient practice. And I'm not sure if you know before, but we've done a lot of the cotton ball throwing, right? When we have big feelings, cotton balls. But I do love obviously nature. Cotton balls is great when we're inside and we want to, get rid of the energy, and you verbalize what you want to throw out. But that's going back to, like, we can picture this, right? We want to picture this, right? And we want to hold it now in front of us. And can we just have compassion? Because this is a part of our life story. Whether we didn't like the experience, whether we did not like the experience, it's a part of our life story. It's a part of what our soul has experienced here. And so we're going to give compassion to the experience that our body, that our soul, that our mind, and everything went through. Not compassion we don't have to have compassion for the challenge, but for the fact that we endured this, we experienced this, compassion for the self of this experience. Because without compassion for ourselves, there's restriction. And we cannot release where there is restriction, where there is resistance. And so instead of resistance, let's soften and have compassion for ourselves. Because the experience and the event that is external, or even if it is a disease or something else that we are dealing with internally, it's still a part. The part that we want to soften is our experience, our body, our nervous system. So self-compassion is what we're going to start with. So we had it in our hands, and now we're going to go inward. And now we go inward, and I want to have self-compassion. So close your eyes and hold your body. And you're going to hold your body in a certain place. And your body's going to call for you to hold it somewhere. Notice where that is. Notice if the body's gone tense again from the initial grounding that you had. And if tension came back, where is that tension? Where is the body calling you in physically? Are you noticing you're going to your pelvis? Are you going to your chest? You need to relax the shoulders. Physically, where is the body holding tension? Because our biology response, every emotion is processed, with our physiology. There's a biochemical response to emotions, to thoughts, to memories, to our past, to our future. But right now, all that exists is now. All that exists is now. The past is the past, and the future is not here. And a lot of the times, our future is calling us. Our future is dictating a lot of our feelings. Our future is dictating a lot of the fears and the emotions and, thoughts that we have. And I'll tell you that 85% of that is false, because 85% of what we think about of the future actually does not happen. So let's let that go for a minute, and let's get real present into the body, because this is where we're at. Right now we have a body, and this body has held experiences and held fears in its physiology. So let's have compassion. And now we're going to move into gratitude. What gratitude can we have? We can have the positive experience, we can have gratitude that we got to experience this and show us the wonders of life, the joys of life, the love of life. And if the experience was not so wondrous and positive, then we can also be like, wow, how amazing was my body? How amazing was I, to grow through this, to learn from it, to discover my worth, to discover my potential, to discover what I don't want in my experience anymore. And you can have gratitude for that, because when we start to have gratitude for ourselves, even from the negative experiences, we start to then learn what we actually are worth, what we actually want, what we want to call into our energy, what we want to call into our experiences. Because it is that. There's a meditative practice that's a book is written about it. It's called Transurfing Reality, and it's a quantum physics book, and it talks a lot about just being able to manifest the future essentially. But I mean, if you look at all manifesting books as well, it's about holding this present day feeling of what we want, what we experienced, and you transfer reality by continuing to live in that belief in your biology, in your mindset, in the now. And that is actually how you change your actions and how the world responds to you and how energy then aligns to ensure that that's the reality that continues to show up for you in your present moment. It doesn't actually show up for you in your future. It actually shows up for you in the present moment, whenever that present moment comes to terms. Does that make sense? And so we have to continue to live in that biology now. And then that's how our biology continues to experience that compassion, that gratitude. Because we actually don't get anything in the future. We get everything in the present moment. So the more we're able to sit in this present moment and feel gratitude, bring safety into our body right now, regulate it. That's how our present moment continues to feel that way. So we've held compassion, we've held gratitude for this experience. Now, can we say what we are ready to release? What part of this experience we want to say thank you and bless it and release it? It's like, yeah, that was great, but it's not a part of my present now. It's not a part of my present now. I'm grounded, I'm content, I'm at peace. And that joy that I experienced, thank you, wonderful. The grief that I experienced, thank you. Thank you for the love that I've discovered through grief. Thank you for the self-worth that I've discovered through pain. What are you thankful for from your experience as you release this part that is no longer yours, so that we can stay grounded, content, and peaceful? Are we able to do that? Let me know once you have had that moment of knowing what to release. And I want to take a minute here. Close your eyes. You might want to close your eyes here, especially if this is long term. I also want to take a minute to acknowledge that for the longer term ones where there is no completion yet, can we also release what we are holding from a future tense that may be in that 85 that won't happen, that we don't want to happen, that we don't want this to continue? And let's also release that. Because that's that whole anxiety, that future fear, future, projecting that we don't want that. And we're like, okay, we understand. That's just our a fear speaking. Our nervous system speaking from fear. Similar to grief, fear is also coming from the past and pulling into our future. And so we're ready to release that too. And be like, yes, I've realized that there's been a bit of fear here. And my attention has been going here. And I'm ready to release that. Or maybe there was like, high hopes and like excitement. And that's cool. We can all have goals. We can all have goals. I think goals are really important. And if we believe in the goal right now, how do we just be like, yeah, that's where I'm headed, and be grounded with it, be at peace with it, feel it as if it's almost happened already, and allow the emotion to release, allow the excitement, allow the fear to release. Because sometimes, even let's say we're hopeful for a new trip, we're hopeful for a new career promotion. Let's say we're hopeful for a new home, a new baby. We're hopeful, like those, when we look at it from a future perspective, it can bring in highs, but it can also bring in lows of like, what if it doesn't happen? And similar to chronic illness, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been sick and I'm going to be sick forever. And like, that negative weight as well. And let's honor that. Let's have compassion, gratitude, bless it and release it. So let's talk about gratitude. Let's talk about compassion first. The step is compassion. Wow, that was hard for me to feel. That anxiety was hard to feel. Let's have compassion. Like, imagine what my body was going through each day. My stomach would turn, it would impact my focus, it would impact my engagements for the day. You know, like say you went through endometriosis treatment, compassion for, surgery, going through that. Imagine you had grief or a loss of compassion, a lot of big feelings you had. Let's have a lot of compassion. And physically identifying maybe the physical part of the body is going to be next. So you get really present in the body. And then let's talk about gratitude. How can you have gratitude? Well, what has this showed you? What has anxiety showed us? Anxiety showed us that, hey, I really fear, or I really worry about this topic. Let's say I worry a lot about infertility. Let's say I worry a lot about my finances, right? And it's like, well, let's have gratitude. I'm an individual. I have learned that like my health matters to me. I've, you know, I have gratitude for the health that I do have. If I have anxiety, I have gratitude for being able to, you know, have tools, to have supports. I have gratitude for some of my experiences and my safe spaces, right? That allow me to, potentially get through some challenging moments. I have, a lot of gratitude for that. I have gratitude for even in infertility journey. I have gratitude. I have gratitude for the fact that, what, my body is been able to endure some of those treatments. I've gone through surgery. I've had gratitude for the doctors. I have gratitude for the fact that, like, other things that I have in life. You can have gratitude in angles of support for the challenges. You can have angles for, has this challenge also showed me that I'm very worthy. I'm still very worthy. I'm still full of love despite challenges. Where can gratitude come up? I'm going to talk about grief. One that I've shared often is I have lost both of my parents. And I was challenged to find the light in this. So I have a lot of gratitude because that grief showed me how much love I had for my family, for my parents, for my upbringing, for who I am today. And I also had gratitude. I had to find, like, caretaking of seniors is something that I'm no longer doing in my life. And I get to now, be full of my life. Obviously, if I could choose, I would choose having parents. But when I don't have parents, that is my reality. I don't get to choose that actually. I do see that, hey, I can take care of my kids and not have being sandwiched with my parents. That's one thing for me that I was like, I almost don't want to say it. But it was my reality. And so I have gratitude for having time. That's what I said. I have gratitude for having time. And sometimes this can be challenging to find gratitude in negative experiences. And we can talk about that one-on-one too. And if I think about infertility, if I think about surgery, and if I think about depression, I can think about what was it that keeps coming up when I think about this feeling or when the experience. And then I can have honest conversations. It's like, I really used to have a lot of depression because I used to suppress the fact that, I'm able to do a lot and therefore I should be able to, that because of my productivity being really, really high, I can do a lot. But I also always realized that somehow I felt like there was a bit of like, I win a lot too in life because I do a lot. So I do have a lot. I'm an ambitious person. I'm very productive, and life gives me a lot from it. But I also felt the stress that used to give me my body. And I used to feel sometimes that there was this unfairness. And I found the gift that I had for gratitude is I learned through that experience that I had a lot of worth that I was seeking from external that I just needed to give to myself. So I had gratitude for my own self-worth because I felt often life was unfair. And I was like, what am I looking for? When I think it's unfair, when I feel stressed, what am I seeking? Am I seeking appreciation? Am I seeking worth? What am I seeking? And I was able to really tap into self-worth on my own and not through external achievements, not through validation, not through anything except being able to give it to myself. So I hope those personal experiences were helpful. And that came with endo too. With endo, I was ready to shed endo. I was healing and I was getting better and I was ready to shed it. And it was only when I shed the identity of endo that I feel like my fertility really came online too, because I was having chemical pregnancies a lot too. And my husband, I think I've shared the story public. I'm not sure if anyone here knows. My husband said to me, I'm done. He walked in the bathroom. I could picture myself. I'm on the floor. I have a pregnancy test. And he kept telling me, stop testing, stop testing, stop testing. And I just couldn't. That was just not me. My nervous system was still very anxious. And he's like, I'm done. I'm done. And I didn't know what he was saying, done. And then he finally said, I do not want to lose you anymore. I've lost you to this whole journey of endometriosis. I've lost you to the journey of pregnancy and, testing. All I want is you. I don't care if we have kids. And I felt like crap. And I cried even harder. And harder because I let him down. I wasn't able to give him kids. I wasn't able to give him a family. Obviously, I'm thinking him, right? That was my natural reaction. I can't have my kids. I can't be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a grandma. I can't have anything. There's so much grief that I processed in that moment. And this is what I'm saying. I had to go through feelings. I had to be that snake. I shed. I went through rocks. I scrubbed against trees. That skin was thick. It was thick. It was ugly for me to finally be able to shed. But him saying that, I felt was almost like a big cut in the skin that actually started to allow me to get out. Because what I didn't realize in the moment was that I needed to hear something like that. So that I gave myself permission to not be only focused on having a baby. But my worth was just me, not on the outcome of being a mother, not on having a family. I will forever be grateful for him to come in and just like it was not a pretty situation then, but I needed that. I needed that constraint, that conflict, that whatever it was, that tension to be so big. And then it cut me open. And I said, I don't need this. And I let it go and found worth in failure, in pain, in infertility, in endo. And I found my worth, that I, in this present moment, am okay. He just wants me. And I started getting very still because I had nowhere to go. No more drives downtown to the city, to the RE's office. No more scans, right? No more. I dropped a lot of things, and I got very present. And my nervous system started to regulate. And I had so much compassion for my body because I was like, oh my gosh, I did all that stuff. Like I was very present. And why all of these tools have been brought in here? Because what I didn't let go of is I didn't start going to eat junk food again. I still kept on my nutrition. I still kept on the protocol, but I did a big release. And I found gratitude. I found gratitude for him, found gratitude for myself, found compassion, and I got very present. My nervous system really loved to live in the past and the future. And I called in the energy of the present. And I released it. I didn't think we were going to go into the personal stories of me today, but I love it. I love it. This is what I'm here for, to go with the flow. And I hope that was helpful. And now, when we're ready to release, we can do rocks. We can do cotton balls. We can shake. We can go into Epsom salt baths. Those are really good too. You may need to cry. You may need to write and then burn it. But I promise you, if you write, please go into the sink, make sure the sink is empty, a stainless steel sink, throw a match onto that piece of paper. And yes, you can burn it right there. I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you guys for that. And thank you guys for holding space, because when you guys when I share myself again, there's a reason why I share it again too. So, I really want to have a lot of gratitude for you guys being here, being a witness to my story every time I share it. And let it go. Let it go. Right? Let's go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Because it's 85% of the stuff is not going to be happening in the future. And nothing actually happens in the future. It happens in the current moment, right? But that current moment energy is the energy that you're cultivating right now. The energy that you cultivate now is the energy that's going to be in you, even in the future. So we go to the future and we think of the energy we want and we bring it into the now. Rather than thinking always now creates future, we also think of the future and bring that energy now and say, what if that is actually my current reality? That will actually force me to release the rest. And that naturally will take you into the snake that has shed and a horse that is moving forward. I hope that was helpful. Let's have questions and let's go into like one-on-one now so that we can actually get into individual stories. I'm going to stop the recording though. Sometimes what has come up for us doesn't necessarily need to be tied to an anchor or a thing that we are actually aware of. And this is why I say in lots of our one-on-one coaching is I don't need context. You don't, it is okay if you don't share the context in your that comes up for you, because you may not know the context. If it is generational, if it is your mother, if it is your maternal grandmother, if it is generational in terms of the wiring or the pattern of not enough, of pain, of rage, or whatever it may be that comes up for you. If finding the what is too much, too heavy, I would say let it be that I'm actually not sure, but there is something in my body that my body has held on to. And instead, when I say let's go there and figure out where in the physiology, where in our body has has this shown up for us? And then let's hold it and let's give it compassion and then take deep breaths in that attention to that physical space. So let's say your gut, you're going to hold the gut and give it just lots of compassion, and we'll do a physical compassion story rather than compassion for an actual experience. So when we talked about these perpetual feelings and having gratitude for them right there, that experience, and thank you, like just once again, and we're going to just try to recap how another opportunity to release this so that we can go future. Now, the example here was there was a trigger of a scenario that brought up, not say jealousy, but your own fear and your own, like, let's say fertility fear, and like that it's not happening for you. And this could be for someone even hearing endo pain or, endo symptoms and they're not resolving, but you're hearing it from someone else that it resolved for them. It could be like a life experience, like there was someone talking about in a group or coaching or life that they have a new home and financial fear came up for you. It's like, and so fear, anxiety, these are some of the grief, these are some of the feelings that were coming up. And so you listen to yourself and be like, okay, let's go there. Where in the body are we holding this? Right? And we found out where the body is holding it, and then say, what is it saying? What is the emotion that comes up for you when you think about this? And the example was I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better. Same thing. I'm not good enough. Right? And then what is the fear saying? Might be I'm going to die alone. I'll be homeless, or I'll have, nobody will love me. That I'll never get better. And how does that feel? That feels scary. That feels painful. And it feels like you don't know how to get out of this. Right? We don't know how to get out of this. And so the question is now back to, as you process this, is, and I want everybody to take a deep breath because I know you guys are going through this and I'm talking. So I want you to take a moment to take a deep breath there and say, how has this feeling shown up for you? How long has this feeling shown up for you? How long has fear, being scared, been part of you? How long has not good enough, not safe, feeling safe been a part of you? You might be forever. It might be so long that you don't even know. It might be generational. And so it was wired into you at some point. At some point in your biology, it was wired into you. You feel it in your physiology. You see it in your patterns. And it was wired into you because that's what happens. Our nervous system is so open for wiring from before birth in utero, in genetics, and up to 7, 9 years old, and even onward, but mostly until that window. And it's wiring us because it's a survival pattern mechanism, enough for us to attach to our caregivers, right? Attach to our providers, or attached to teachers. So we learn to, attachment theory, we learn to adapt and change so that we can attach to people, so we can get approval from people, so we can get love from people, so we can see worth, so we can succeed in life, feel safe in life, provide, protect, and please, right? To provide for ourselves, to provide for others, to protect ourselves, to protect others, to please others, so that we get love and attachment. And our nervous system is adapting. And the cost of that adaptation is our own authenticity. Right? The cost of the adaptation is our own authenticity. And it is often seen surface level as like negative. It's like, oh, I have fear, or I have this, I have people pleasing, I have attachment, I have this, I have that. However, How has it served you? Because it's a safety mechanism. So it's serving us. And so now find, did it serve you in that fact that you made good choices? You know, in you started providing for yourself and now you are independent. Did you keep yourself safe from certain situations? How did it protect you? How did it provide for you? Yes, you may have infertility. Yes, there may be grief. However, this fear that's coming up for you also was the one that kept you smart. It kept you out of bad situations. It made you make some good choices. You know, what did it do for you that was good? It was a protection, providing, pleasing mechanism. And yes, it cost you some authenticity. You had to adapt, but it also got you places. Where did it get you? How did it help you that you can now have gratitude for it so that you can bless it and release it now? Because it may have served you, but then there gets a place where it may be hindering you. And your body, your life, your soul is ready for authenticity again. And saying that attachment is no longer serving me. That adaptation is no longer serving me. I'm now adult. I don't need to, attach to like my parents. And so that attachment, it's showing up other places. I need to become my authentic self again. And that fear served me well then, but it actually is now hindering me. So my authenticity is coming through. My nervous system is ready to release this. This feeling is showing up for me again and again, and I want to release this now. And that's your authenticity. That's your soul. Like it's all coming online, ready to release those feelings. But we have to be able to, feel them sometimes. Sometimes it does require crying. Sometimes it does require stone throwing into a river while we scream it aloud. Sometimes it does take burning. Sometimes it does take shaking. It takes running. Our physiology needs to release it too. Not just talk therapy. Talk therapy is okay, but our physiology wants to release this. And it's not a one and done. It may need, some releasing over months, over days, over weeks. It depends on what experience you have to help you release it, or what space you feel you have to release it, or even just safety, the nervous system. This is why in a safety container like this, with some compassion, we can release and have bigger releases. And having that gratitude that it is provided for you, it protected you, it's, done that. But now that's hindering you. You're ready to release it because you want to be able to live without fear. You want to live in like just how much you've been able to support your health and how you can just be gratitude, be like, hey, I can realize I'm really smart. I've been able to take care of my health. I've been able to see, just my potential in life outside of these different things, because we're often the fear or the anxiety is off of on one topic, but you can like look at the other areas of your life that you're grateful for, that your energy is able to call you into, and that you have curated, right? So you have gratitude for yourself, your own experiences, and be like, I'm ready to release that piece because my future or my present moment is ready to live in a different biology, is ready to live without that hindrance, without that attachment, without that adaptation. Right. And this is why sometimes I wouldn't call it inner child work, but it's nervous system repatterning. And our brains love logic. Our brains love working through it like this, but then we have to do the biology. We have to do the physiology and the somatics. It goes hand in hand. And that's why we've brought in this type of nervous system and somatic and like whatever you want to call it, soul work, into foods and detox, because the liver's ready to release it, the gut's ready to release it, the inflammation's ready to become like a closed loop. Inflammation often is open loop when people come to us, and our goal is always to bring it into a closed loop so that inflammation comes into the body when it needs to, and then it finishes its cycle and it settles. It's often inflammation that comes up and then doesn't get settled that remains as chronic inflammation. So I believe this biology and the protocol work is just as important to have while we're doing this work in an integrated fashion. And so if you're in a pain flare, invite in, be like, you know what feeling's coming up for you? What is this emotion? And how are you feeling about it? How can I have some compassion for myself? How can I have gratitude for that feeling? How long has this feeling been a part of me? Or belief? How long is this belief that have been part of me? Am I ready to shed a belief? Maybe it's not ready to shed. Maybe you're ready to shed the belief that you're always going to be in pain or there's chronic illness. You're like, I'm ready to shed that belief because that belief it's making me feel like I always need help. It making me feel like, I have something that people aren't seeing, and it makes me feel like, oh, well, I have this, I think one of our clients shared this very vulnerably before. It's like, my identity of being sick always gave me kind of like, I'm special. Yes, I can do all this stuff, but guess what? I'm special. I have this, and you have no idea. You have no idea. And she almost used it, not like verbally outward, but almost to herself, like they have no idea how hard it is for me. It's hard for me. Like life is harder for me. And it was like, I'm special. Life is hard for me. And I deserve this. And like, it's just not fair. Like all of these identities, it was so vulnerable. But she's like, I'm ready to shed that. I don't want a pity party. I don't want to feel sorry for myself. And we had to dig. Where did that come from? Where did you start? When did you start feeling sorry for yourself? Why did you start feeling sorry for yourself? And a lot of it was from her mother, actually. Just observing her mother, she felt sorry for her mother quite a bit. And then she never felt like her mother felt sorry for her. She never got that attention because her mother was in a more challenging situation. Like she said, more challenging. I remember that word. My mom's in a more challenging situation, yet she was a child here. And so no one's at fault. No one's at fault. And that's a very lived experience, real experience that we hear often. I'm tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of it being so hard. These are all stories and patterns that are very real to our biology. And they've been with us longer potentially than the chronic illness has. So compassion for the self, having gratitude for what it may have helped you with. You've become a strong person. You're a responsible person. You have empathy potentially, because you've lived this, right? And you're ready to release that. You're ready to not be a sick person. You're ready to not have that kind of attention. You're ready to not just be able to. And what are you ready for? What experience are you really ready for? And start to feel those. Start to feel that horse energy, like that creative, that forward momentum. Start to feel it as if it's today, because that's what's going to happen. We're not leaving in the future to feel in the future. We're calling it in and saying, this is the energy that I'm going to be feeling in the present moment. This is the energy that I'm going to be feeling in the present moment. And every day, I want you to take 5 minutes, and we've done this before, where you bring in that, vision, hold it, and own the feelings in your biology. Own that safety, that groundedness, that inner peace when things are well. It's not about excitement, because the excitement brings in fear, anxiety. It's really, yeah, okay, this is me, and bring it into your current biology, and let's transfer that reality. That's like, that quantum energy process. I'm very much into the quantum play space, and I know that it's not easy to land with everybody, but we really don't see the power of thoughts and emotions from a current moment perspective, and how it then translates into our current, but in the future timeline. If that makes sense. So I hope that makes sense. I didn't want to go off too much of a tangent, but I hope that was helpful for everybody.